Imagine going on a shopping spree, buying everything you want, only to wake up to a credit card bill that you can't pay. That's a bit like what happens when a country defaults on its debt. Just as you and I have financial obligations, so too do countries. But unlike our personal debts, when a sovereign state fails to meet its financial commitments, it's not just one credit card bill on the line. It's an entire economy. This is what we mean when we talk about a sovereign default. It's a situation where a country is unable or sometimes unwilling to fulfill its debt repayments. Now you might be thinking, why would a country get itself into such a mess? Well, it's not always as simple as just overspending. There are a number of reasons why a government might default. It could be due to excessive debt, sure, but it could also be down to economic instability or political turbulence. Think of it like this. Let's say you've been using your credit card to cover unexpected expenses. Maybe your car broke down or you had a medical emergency. These are like the external shocks that can hit a country's economy. Suddenly, they have expenses they weren't planning for, and it can throw the whole budget out of whack. Or perhaps you lost your job and are now relying on credit to get by. This is a bit like economic instability. If a country's main industries are struggling, or if there's high unemployment, the government might not have the revenue it needs to cover its debts. And then there's political turbulence. Imagine you're in the middle of a messy divorce, and you're so preoccupied with legal fees and court dates that you forget to pay your credit card bill. In the same way, political unrest or changes in government can distract from or disrupt a country's financial obligations. So, now you know how a country can end up in the sticky situation of default. But what happens next? Think of a default like a giant, messy domino effect. One domino falls, and the rest come tumbling down. When a country defaults on its financial commitments, it sends shockwaves through its economy. We're talking about a seismic shift that has immediate and far-reaching impacts. Let's unpack this a bit, shall we? First off, we see a sharp decline in investor confidence. Imagine investing your hard-earned money into a business, only to find out it can't pay you back. You'd be less inclined to invest in that business again, wouldn't you? Well, the same principle applies to countries. If a country defaults, investors get jittery. They start pulling their money out, making it harder for that country to secure future investments. Next, we have the restricted access to credit markets. This is like having your credit card declined at the store, but on a much larger scale. The country finds it harder to borrow money, and when it does, it's usually at much higher interest rates. This can lead to a vicious cycle of debt that's hard to break. And then there's the deterioration of the country's credit rating. Credit ratings are like report cards for countries. They tell potential investors how likely a country is to repay its debts. A default can lead to a downgrade in a country's credit rating, making it even more difficult to attract investment. These immediate impacts are like the first set of dominoes falling. They set off a chain reaction that can be hard to stop. The economy takes a hit, and it's the ordinary citizens who often bear the brunt of it. Jobs can be lost, and living standards can fall. But the impacts of a default don't stop there. They ripple out, causing even greater problems. Imagine throwing a stone into a pond. The splash might be in one spot, but the ripples spread out, affecting the whole pond. That's the wider impact of a default. Let's start with the economic downturn. When a country defaults, its economy can spiral into recession or even depression. Businesses may struggle to secure loans or investment, unemployment can skyrocket, and living standards can plummet. It's like a domino effect, where one economic pillar after another topples over. Then, there's social unrest. As the economy struggles, people's livelihoods are affected, jobs are lost, savings dwindle, and the cost of living can rise. This can lead to protests, strikes, and in extreme cases, even civil unrest or violence. It's like a pot of water on the boil, always threatening to bubble over. Next, we have strained relationships with foreign lenders. A country in default is a country that has broken its promise to repay its debts. This can lead to a loss of trust and credibility in the international community. It's like a friendship gone sour. Rebuilding that trust isn't easy. Finally, there's market instability. A default can send shockwaves through global markets, causing stock prices to plummet and currencies to fluctuate wildly. It's like a storm on the horizon, casting a shadow of uncertainty over investors and businesses alike. So the impacts of a default are pretty serious, but could it happen to any country? You might be thinking, surely this can't happen to big, powerful countries. Well, think again. Just as a giant oak can be brought down by a small, relentless axe, so too can any country, regardless of its size or power, find itself on the precipice of default. No nation is immune to the potential of an economic storm. Take the United States as an example. The nation that is often seen as the epitome of power and prosperity, a beacon of economic stability. But let's take a moment to play with a hypothetical scenario. The United States has never defaulted on its debt obligations. But what if it did? Imagine, if you will, a world where the United States, the country with the largest economy, fails to meet its financial commitments. The consequences would be akin to a financial earthquake, sending shockwaves that would reverberate around the globe. The world's economy is interconnected like a giant spider web. If one strand is disturbed, the entire web feels the vibration. Now imagine if that strand is the United States. A default here wouldn't just cause a tremor. It would be more like a seismic event. The repercussions would be dire. Investor confidence would plummet. Credit markets would contract. The credit rating of the United States would deteriorate. The economic fallout would not just be confined to the borders of the United States. It would spread, creating a domino effect of economic downturns, social unrest, and strained relationships with foreign lenders. It's a chilling scenario, isn't it? But it's important to remember that this is just a hypothetical situation. The United States has always met its financial obligations, and there's no reason to believe it won't continue to do so. However, it serves as a stark reminder of the potential consequences of a country defaulting on its debt obligations. It underlines the importance of sound fiscal policies, stable political environments, and robust economies in maintaining global financial stability. The reality is, no country is immune to the risk of default. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? So there you have it, folks, the not-so-pretty picture of what happens when a government can't pay its bills. We've navigated through the economic labyrinth, from the domino effect of debt to the aftermath of a default, and the wider impact it has on the world stage. It's a complex dance of numbers and policies, a delicate balance that can tip over with a single misstep. Remember the domino effect? When one falls, they all do. That's the reality of our interconnected global economy. No economy is an island, and a default can send shockwaves across the globe. Then we delved into the aftermath of a default. It's not a pretty sight. Investor confidence plummets, credit ratings take a nosedive, and the economy spirals into a downturn. It's like a storm that leaves devastation in its wake, a storm that can take years, even decades, to clean up. And let's not forget about the wider impact. A default doesn't just affect the defaulting country, it can reverberate across the globe, disrupting markets and causing economic turbulence far and wide. It's a stark reminder of the butterfly effect in economics. But in all of this chaos, there's a silver lining. It's a wake-up call, a reminder of the importance of sound fiscal policies and financial responsibility. Just as individuals need to manage their finances responsibly, so too do governments. Excessive debt, unsound fiscal policies, economic instability. These are the pitfalls that can lead to a default. Avoiding them is key to maintaining economic stability and prosperity. So, in essence, a government default is a lesson in financial responsibility. It's a stark reminder of what can happen when the balance is lost. But it's also a testament to our resilience, to our ability to learn from our mistakes and forge a path towards economic stability. Want to stay informed about more fascinating economic phenomena? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. There's a whole world of economics waiting for you to explore.